And my question kind of came briefly in the debate, and it is about for those who can't really live with diversity. What I mean by that is there are people that thinks a nation should only comprise of white people, or those who thinks that living with Asians should not be allowed. For those people, as a global citizens, how should we deal with them?
Panel? Any thoughts on that?
I guess in my opinion, the only way to change their minds is to actually show that there's no harm in diversity. So it's very hard, I guess, to try to convince someone with words that diversity is good. But I think we all assume that diversity is good because we ourselves have experienced it beforehand. So my answer might be ideal, and it might not be that practical, but I think that in the long term, the only way to convince these people is to actually let them live with it and see that they can, live with it.
I think my answer would be that you can't actually change that person's perspective. You can probably try to understand that person's perspective by thinking from that other person's, in that other person's shoes. For example, if I remember a friend, when I was living in the States, there was a Korean friend who was very new. She came from Korea, and she had this fear of African Americans because of the color of their skin, and according to her, they smell different from her. And I think the reason that she avoided those kids, at first she expressed her feelings as she didn't like them, but the more I knew about her, I thought she was afraid of them because of the differences. But I think that as an answer to your question, or how to change the other's perspective who doesn't want to get along with you well, I think it's just like trying to get along with a friend who does not want to be friends with you. I think you should acknowledge her state right now. You shouldn't try to change something about her, but at least you should try to give yourself a chance and give that other person the chance to see a new side of you. Maybe she has a stereotype about you. Maybe she or he will break it later. I think there is a chance later.
Mr. Lee?
So I think living with diversity also means living with those kinds of people, because they are one part of the rainbow, although maybe not the prettiest part of the rainbow. But still, if they choose to isolate themselves, then it's their choice, and they're missing out on the benefits of diversity. So I guess it's their loss. Their loss mostly. Although it's also a loss for the society. We can't actually force them to change their mind, and because people only strengthen their beliefs, they only selectively choose information to confirm their existing beliefs. It's really a tough issue.
Yeah, I find actually I think it's a very good question, and but I find the premise, the idea of somebody who doesn't accept diversity, I find that bizarre. You might as well say, I know this guy who doesn't accept gravity, and because the fact of the matter is, gravity exists, and that's why we're all sitting on the floor here. That's why we're not floating in the air. Gravity exists, diversity exists, and the whole world is becoming more diverse. Not because Kim Young-sam said we should have Segewa, but it's becoming diverse through a variety of forces. Mobility of populations. And the end of certain types of prejudice. It's not just Korea, and it's not just the United States. It's a global phenomenon.